Hello to everyone in the Holy Trinity Greek Orthodox Cathedral community and all of our friends. This is Father Jonathan. I hope you're doing well. Today we're going to continue our reflection on the Psalms of Orthodox Christian liturgical worship with the conclusion of our reflection on Psalm 140. Now we've already gone through all of the verses themselves, and so I wanted to take a step back and consider what this psalm is teaching us and how we ought to be towards others. And to do so, I wanted to draw out a portion of the psalm, but remind us that it is not just a call for us to find someone who can be righteous, but for ourselves to become the righteous teacher. And what does that mean? Well, we are all called to live lives in accordance with the teaching of the gospel, to live our lives in accordance with the divine will of God for all things, to be righteous. And in the psalm, we reflected quite a bit on how we need to find someone who can be our righteous guide, who can teach us the way that we ought to be. What I'm saying today is we are all called in our own way to become a righteous example, not self-righteous, not so that we can lord over our greatness over someone else, but so that we can live in accordance with the divine will of God, and then our life itself will become a sermon, a beacon, something that teaches those who see us what it means to be a disciple of Christ. And I think this is really important because it is not enough for us to simply get in the habit of saying the Psalms. It is not enough for us to attend services and expect that we are going to be transformed. We have to, with intention, take the teachings that we hear in these Psalms, in the prayers that we say during Orthodox worship and in our private devotion and in our reading of the Scripture. We have to take these and apply them and live them authentically in our lives. We are called to a way of life, and that way of life will show others what it means to be a disciple. If we are those who people know often go to church, but they see us living as the unrighteous do, we are not bearing witness. We are not bearing witness to God's righteousness. And to be honest, many people can be turned away when they see Christians acting in ways that are unrighteous. Who wants to emulate someone or be part of a church that produces people that are like those sinners that we hear about in the psalm, that we are called not to associate with, to those who are living unrighteously, that are not living in good and beautiful and loving ways? And so this is a call, this psalm, again, at the very beginning of the day, is a call for us not only to live righteously for righteousness' sake, but to live righteously because it is God's will. And in doing so, we will communicate far more the truth of the gospel, the truth of the good news, the truth of God's divine plan of salvation for all things. We will live that and teach it through how we are and not what we say. Hopefully we're saying the right things. Hopefully we are well versed in the truths of our faith, the doctrine of our faith. But we can know all of those things, but if we are not living in a way where we call upon God, we hope that He hears us, that we have our eyes fixed on God so that we are living in accordance with His ways, in accordance with His divine plan for us. If we're not doing that, we will bear the responsibility of not only the destruction that we have led ourselves to, but the potential destruction that might have come from our driving others away. I don't know about all of you, but when I hear the truth of the gospel, I fall in love. I fall in love because I see the beauty of Christ. I see the beauty of what he has done for us, who He is, how He loves us. And my only response is deep love. And a love that compels me, not in a compulsory way that where I have no freedom, but it compels me to use my freedom and to orient myself to live in a way where I am constantly, in a more authentic way, being who God has called me to be in relation to Him, in relationship with Him. And so this psalm is reminding us to find those who can teach us to be this way, and also ourselves, as we grow in this way of life, to become someone who others will look at and see an example. Again, not to our glory, not because then we can boast and say, look at how great or righteous I am, but because in doing so, God is glorified. We glorify God by who we become in relationship with Him if we are doing it authentically, if we are taking advantage of the opportunities to come together and worship and pray these psalms with others in person, to get in the habit of saying these psalms and living the reality that the psalms are talking about in our lives. And this is why it's so important, and this is why we shouldn't just stop at every once in a while hearing the Psalms or reading the Psalms, but allow them to infuse our lives, to teach us how we ought to be. The Psalms and other verses of Scripture, other books of Scripture will teach us how we want to be. The lives and writings of the saints will teach us the ways in which we should be living, so that we are in authentic relationship with God. So, pray the Psalms, but allow the Psalms to shape how you are. If the Psalm says, Lord, I have cried to you, hear me, cry out to the Lord when you're saying that and saying other things. If we are praying in the Psalm, let my eyes be fixed on the Lord, then have our eyes fixed on the Lord. If it says, allow the righteous person to chasten me with mercy and reprove me, find someone who will chasten you with mercy and reprove you, so that you can be a more authentic expression of yourself. You can be in relationship with God in the way that God has intended from before all ages. And this is how we can live an authentic Orthodox Christian life. And we can allow these psalms that we're praying to give shape to a way of life that's transformative for ourselves and can offer an example to those who see us who maybe do not know Christ or are learning about Christ, who have come to know Christ in a way that is less authentic than perhaps it could be. In the meantime, God bless you. We're here for you. We love you dearly. Don't hesitate to reach out. Call us, email us, send us a message on social media, leave us a note in the comment section, anything at all. We'd love to hear from you. Again, God bless you. Have a beautiful weekend. And I look forward to our ongoing conversations around the Book of Psalms. In the next reflection, we will begin Psalm 141 in accordance with the Septuagint numbering. Again, God bless you. Have a beautiful weekend.